Hey friend, and welcome to a brand new Chit Chat Get Ready With Me makeup video today. We are going to be talking about some very scary, a little bit graphic type subjects. So just a warning for you, we are going to be talking about trafficking. For some reason, I did not know that Houston was the #1 city with the largest amount of trafficking in the United States of America, the city I live in. I don't know why, I just did not know this, and my boyfriend recently saw that statistic and was like, wait, what? How am I gonna feel safe with you going out? And I did a little digging, did a little research, and found some interesting, crazy, and terrifying stories about it. But recently I saw a story on a news website about a Houston family, yes, family, who was involved together with a trafficking ring. I'm grabbing this eyeshadow palette because I haven't used it in a while and it was just calling my name. It's the It's a Mood Color Pop palette. So pretty. But they were involved with forcing a woman, a waitress at a bar, to perform commercial acts for a whole decade. Maria Boltello and her 2 children, Maria's 54, her children are Edgar and Yudi, who are 28 and 31, and her nephew Arian, who's 23, was involved in this too, were all accused of coordinating a trafficking operation from 2007 to 2020 at a local Houston bar. Here's the bar's name. I'm just gonna put some purple highlighter right here. But Maria seemed to be the whole head of this operation. She coordinated with certain clients where they paid $70 for 15 minutes with random girls that she coerced into this trafficking operation ring. And what frightens me about that is it's girls, not women, just girls. Is that, what are the ages? Is that this is definitely not legal. Scary. Like, how can you get talked into this, you know? Well, here's the deal. Edgar and Arian, you know, one of those was their son, I think one was the nephew, coerced these women with weapons to threaten them into compliance into this. And Maria and the people that were involved actually held meetings about this whole entire operation and knew that it was considered trafficking and still did this. They had thought out rules and procedures about this whole operation. One of the girls who was forced to go into this bar and perform all these acts was only 17 years old at the time, and she's involved in this investigation. That's why they said girls. Each member of the family will be sentenced to 10 years up to a lifetime in federal prison if they are convicted. A act includes any act that is performed with something given. Anything of value is given or received by another person. I just feel like it's all about power, and this is so disheartening, and it's happening in my own backyard. It's beyond scary, to be honest. This trafficking industry has moved from public spaces and from the streets to more indoors because of the online space, making it so that people are anonymous. They have more freedom, and it's like a mask. Just in 2016, there's a study that 3.8 million adults and 1 million children were forced into exploitation. The State Department found in 2019 the top places where trafficking is most prevalent is the United States, Mexico, and the Philippines. There were 1,080 human trafficking cases reported in 2009 in Texas, or 2019 in Texas alone. But at Austin University, there was a study made that in 2016, 313 cases of trafficking happened in Texas that year. And 79,000 of those cases were of minors. In the Houston Chronicle, they ran a story about a girl from Katy, Texas, not far from me, who was involved in a trafficking ring. She even went to the White House to tell her story. Courtney Litvak said she was a junior at Katy High School, and she was traumatized because she was assaulted by her older boyfriend. And after that incident, she met the people who groomed her into trafficking without her even realizing it. Her parents found out that she was taking drugs and was having a very bad downward spiral in her life, so her parents took her phone privileges and her phone entirely away from her. But her new friends gave her one to use, which honestly, red flag, because I don't know any friend that has the money to just get me a new phone plan when I'm in high school. And this was the first red flag, because she was super flattered that her new group of friends would help her out in such a dire situation when her parents were trying to punish her for getting into drugs. Her new friends got her a phone to help her out in such a rough situation, and she was super grateful for it. But this phone was a red flag because it is a key access into her life of emotional and physical manipulation, and a constant line of communication to her at all times, because you're going to answer the phone to someone who gave you the said phone for absolutely free to help you out, right? It was by the time she was 18 that she said that she was completely brainwashed at this point. It was when her parents were fighting that she walked out of her house, ran down the street, and went into the car with her friends, where she ended up being in trafficking, caught up in that for 7 months. They had moved her in this time from Katy to Houston to cross country. When she was 21, she headed to the White House to speak to Trump about human trafficking. Her mother owns and runs a nonprofit organization for trafficking now called Child Proof America, aimed at helping out kids like her daughter Courtney. Courtney wants her story to be a wake-up call, because she believes that, you know, it's true that trafficking isn't just an issue in big cities like here in Houston, but in suburbs across America. Another story that should be heard is from Kathy McGivin. She was 22 years old when she went on a trip with her boyfriend. She was going on a business trip with him, and she met up at the hotel in Dallas, where she found herself trapped in a nightmare for 9 months. This woman tells her story now in hopes to help prevent other people and women from getting trapped into something like this, and she's a Houston local. Kathy is trying to make it so that trafficking laws are changed for the better to help protect women like her. She is 42 now, and she overcame this, and she's saying that other people can overcome it. She was a Houston native, but she was born in Canada. She moved to Houston her sophomore year of high school. After high school, she planned to go to the Air Force, but during her graduation, she found out she was pregnant. And when Kathy had her child, her mom swooped in and said, "You got this. I am going to help you out while you finish school. You got this, and everything's going to be fine." She enrolled in Houston University, had assistant jobs, trained as a medical assistant, and she was just really busy, and one of her friends introduced her to an up-and-coming musician to date, and that became her boyfriend. But the first red sign was he isolated her from her friends and family, and that was a huge issue, red flag. But Kathy's creepy musician boyfriend invited her to Dallas to meet investors towards his craft so that he could start a record label. A friend agreed to watch her toddler and newborn son during this as well. She said he completely turned into a different person on this trip, almost like a monster. He was very mean and violent, made her dress into lingerie, styled her hair for her, and took pictures of her. And immediately other men started coming to the hotel room. And for Kathy, she said it was an outer body experience. She went to survival mode, and she just immediately shut down. And she knew that she was just in a bad situation. I would want to know who this friend was who introduced her to this man. She hoped that if she did what her trafficker asked, that he would let her go and be nicer to her. She remembers guns being held to her head, and they would always ask if she wants to see her kids ever again, to make it easy and don't do anything stupid. Soon she was forced to do street corners and dropped off at private homes. The scariest part for her, she said, was when she realized who the buyers of her were. She realized that when she would have time alone with the buyer, that she could ask them for help, but she was just in shock too that the buyers were members of the clergy, people she knew who had families. She saw children's car seats in the back of people's cars, and she felt so alone and like she couldn't trust anyone at this point. When one of the other women in this trafficking ring who Kathy was with got sick, Kathy said that she should be going to the hospital with her. And she said when they were going to the hospital, it was the longest ride of her life. And it was there at the hospital where she called her brother, who came to pick her up. And her trafficker even tried to get a hold of her for weeks after, but her family was protecting her. The trafficker understood that Kathy had a really good support system and wasn't going to get to her. She also never knew what trafficking was, so she felt stupid and afraid. She grew up in the church and she didn't know how she was supposed to come home and tell all her sins and say this is what she has done. She said the hardest thing for her after this whole experience was looking people in the eye, and she didn't know if she could trust them ever. But once Kathy heard about what trafficking was, learned about what it was, she made it a life's mission to be heard, because there's so many people in silence who are suffering alone. Kathy says that she just wants to help and give back right now. Make everyone more aware and knowledgeable. And that is our finished look. I hope you enjoyed this moon starry night look. I had so much fun doing this today. I know the topic of today's video was a little disheartening, but I feel like it's something that is not talked about a lot and occurs very, very often, and a lot of people can easily be manipulated into suffering from this. It's very scary, but I personally didn't realize how common it was. So thank you all for watching and supporting this channel. We do videos every Monday and Friday here, so you can subscribe for some more. We also do an Amazon live show every Tuesday. I'll put all the information down below because we have an Amazon wish list to help support this channel, to get ring lights and stuff for my makeup studio. And you can write to me at my P.O. box as well. Thanks again for hanging out with me today, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.